Alright guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Black Label Bodybuilding podcast. Today I'm joined by probably the best moustache in Scottish bodybuilding, Taylor Johnson. How you getting on? Cheers for joining me.
No mate, thank you man. Before this kind of clip recorded, I was just kind of singing your praises, man. You're doing something pretty bloody good for the Scottish bodybuilding scene, man, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be on. I would love to be on sooner, but you know, it's fine. I know where the pecking order lies, brother. There's a damn lot of other outstanding athletes here, man, and to be honest with you, mate, just to jump on here, shoot the shit, get to know me a little bit more, it's a great opportunity, man, so thank you very much for reaching out, mate. It's cool.
No problem at all. I mean, in a way, actually, you're better coming on later because the views theoretically are going to get better as they go. Right?
Yeah, you're going to skyrocket now, brother. I don't know how I'll be following Sam's. I think a lot of people's eardrums will thank me for that one. I love you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I might have to do less editing.
Yeah, a lot less editing. Was that like, what, a 2-hour podcast?
Yeah, well, it was 2.5 hours and it became 2 hours. So
was that like your social battery done for the month?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm back not that long afterwards. But yeah, it was definitely took a hammering after that. But it's
it was class. It was really, really good, man. Sam's the boy. Much like everyone else that you've had on board, man. You've had a lot of kind of like key influential guys in terms of my progression, and it's cool to be kind of like acknowledged and brought on board, man. So thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was saying this to you before we started, but I just want to expose more people to more people, but also personalities, and it's a bit more than just like here's a training clip or here's a picture of me in my pants. Like, you know, get to know the person behind the...
Yeah, I think a lot of people were really surprised that bodybuilders are human. Yeah. Like, we've got got a good sense of humour, we're relatively personable, at least most of us, and I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people potentially put bodybuilders in some sort of kind of foreign corner where they're kind of their own entity, but mate, we enjoy the same shit as the next man, and like I said, we're just as sociable. One thing that we're not too keen on is going to be like kind of like pub consult calls, like if we're out and about and some man's like, big man, I'm struggling, what's the crack, how are me, give me a template. I'm like, nah, come on bro, I love it.
My last time I went out for a drink was...
Oh bro.
I went out not that long ago because I went out to kind of like have a pre-childbirth like couple of drinks with guys kind of thing.
Yeah, by the way, on that note, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It's a mixture of nerves and excitement, but mostly excitement. Like,
and have you started to kind of get like little policies in place in terms of how to manage things, or are you just going to go like all in on the dad? Because, like I said, as much as I'm blessed to be amongst this roster and coming on board, you have done incredibly well over the past couple of years, mate. Like, it's really good, mate, and you should be fucking chuffed with the work that you've put in and where you've developed yourself to.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, but it's you know, I'm pretty confident I can keep things going as is with some tweaks. But working with Hilly is really good with that because he's very into making bodybuilding work around your life and shit. And he's got a kid and done it, so there's a lot of lessons there, and he's kind of imparted some wisdom. So I feel confident in it, but the priority is definitely going to be being a dad. So like, if for the first time in a while things have to slip, then they'll slip. But you know, we make it work. So.
And you kind of said a good point there, like the first time in a while. Like, genuinely, mate, I've been seeing you put the work in, and it's showing, mate. So you can afford to take your foot off the gas short term, and it'll probably give you even more desire. Like, I think that your why now could potentially even greater.
Yeah.
You've got this beautiful human coming into your life, and in the back of your mind, I don't know, I think that's where the dad strength comes from. You know, those like dads that just like look like a stick, but you know, they would just smash you about.
Exactly.
That comes as soon as you bear as soon as a child enters your life, there's like this upregulation or something, and you're like, I'm bloody on.
Well, I mean, I'm expecting the child to be quite a specimen because we've got the news during prep, or quite early on in prep. So I did get a sense of that like change in why during prep, because obviously, as you know, super kind of can be quite a selfish endeavour, and a lot of the time. You know, you feel like you're taken away from, especially your partner or whoever. I had this sense of like, right, I'm going to keep doing this, so I'm going to do it as like, I'm going to do it properly. Like, there's absolutely zero scope for fucking about if you're going to be doing the things that you need to do, and there's going to be a kid involved. And then also, I'm like, even when I was on stage this year, like I was like, this would, you know, what make this more sick if my kid was in the audience. That would have been fucking. That would be
Mate, so my client Kev there was just competing a few weeks back. Did amazing.
Great.
Won class, second in the age group. But his daughter Ayla had just been born. I think it was like the start of this year. I can't quite recall exactly, but she was in the crowd, and I've got some pictures of her looking up at her dad, like she's clapping. And mate, for me, the placing was awesome. The placing was great, but just seeing that and
Yeah.
seeing the excitement in both Kev's wife's eyes and then wee Ayla, it's something you'll remember forever, mate. And it's going to be such a beautiful experience. And to be honest with you, it's something that I personally can't wait to experience as well. Because, like you said, it gives you there's such a huge incentive. You always want to be a key role model for your child, and something that's always overlooked is, well, not even overlooked, but people need to consider the application that goes into bodybuilding, the amount of strings and things they need required to coordinate. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you can be a good bodybuilder, you can be good at anything in your life. But it's about setting an example for those around you, for your kids, because they won't realise at the time. But I'm at a position now where I can look back on my childhood and see the effort that my mum put in, my dad put in, the hours that they put in trying to give me a high quality life, and it set me up for success, mate. It set me up very, very nicely. It's instilled outstanding values and a work ethic, and it's little things like that that people don't realise. It's going to be so beautiful to look back on, mate, especially when the maturity or when your child starts to mature and all that. So no, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's cool that I like that you're saying that. So obviously you're like thinking one day kids are going to be on the
I never
menu.
used to, mate, but you know, we're getting on these days, brother. We're getting on these days.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. And like I was the same. Like a few years ago, I was kind of on that fence of being like, I don't know, kind of thing. Is that going to be a thing? Especially here with bodybuilders, you know, when we know that you can compromise your fertility, and some people are taking years off their life. We don't know if that's going to be the case. Hopefully not. But it's cool to hear that you're saying that, because
yeah, man, it's like I don't know what it is, but it's like see when you've got this like child that's yours, they just look at you differently. It's like a puppy. I mean, you yourself, like you probably treat your dog like a child.
Oh yeah.
And you know when you just pick them up, they have this just like I love you, and it's you can't quantify it. It's just that like emotional connection, and it's taken me a long time to eventually get these like broody symptoms. And I'm not saying we're going in yet. Like I still have I want to tick off before that happens, but I'm definitely starting to get the itch. Hopefully Joanna doesn't watch this and she's like, "Oh,
I know you're absolutely
not yet."
No, that's good. And on Kev, I mean, I've spoken to Kev for years. We used to both be coached by Stephen back in the day, so I kind of knew him through that. And yeah, actually, yeah, we followed. Yeah, that's. And you also were coached by Kuba. We'll come to that, but that's that. I mean, you're one of the reasons I signed up with Kuba, is seeing the progress that you made with him. So
I think we could talk about Kuba all day, man. But that's a good talking point. Definitely would be that. Whenever you want to get into that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, tell me about Kev's prep. I mean, he was telling me that it was a holiday prep eventually, and I kind of like just poked him.
Yeah, man. So like. For me, dude, like Kev's worked with coaches in the past, like you mentioned, and there's just been a couple of things that occurred towards the back end that left him feeling a little bit frustrated and unfulfilled. Just some decision making. You know, of course, a coach at the time thinks it's the right decision to make, but I operate very closely with all my athletes. I try and get connect with them on a personal level so that I can understand or see things that they potentially can't pick up on and identify, and it allows me to really generate a solid anchor, a solid emotional anchor. And with Kev, like I said, dude, he was feeling a little bit unfulfilled. He lost a little bit of confidence, and I could see that, mate. I could see it in him. I could see how he conducted himself. Yeah. And as things started to pick up, man, I was like, Kev, mate, it was like 4 weeks out from his holiday, and I was like, dude, this could be the best that you've been so far, mate. Like, you've not competed in what's been, I think it was 4 or 5 years off, and he still had that desire to ticket. And I was like, dude, age isn't on your side right now, okay? If the ducks are in order just now, we've got a good chance here to just go and get stuck about it. And I think that because of that relationship I had with Kev, because of the work that'd been put in up to that point, he really trusted me. Yep. And I said to him, I was like, Kev, I need you to trust me, mate. I was like, I'm gonna make sure this is perfect. I'm gonna put my absolute everything into you to deliver you at your all-time best. Because for me, it meant so much to me, mate. Kev is one of my mates, one of my close mates. I've trained with him for a while now. I'm blessed to coach him, and I've grown very, very fond and close with him and his family. And there was such emotional and personal investment for me that, for me to say that, he was just like, bro, let's do it. And it just kind of steamrolled and steamrolled and steamrolled. And Kev's issue is just doing too much. You know, like, you'll experience this when you become a father, man, is that, like, there's so much to coordinate and so much to juggle, and you're never just thinking about yourself. You know, you've got this massive list of personal related tasks, home related tasks, relationship related tasks, and it was just about trying to consolidate where possible, because the bulk of the fat loss was done at that point. So it was really just trying to rein them in. And when you're that lean, the hardest part I find of prepping is not the first end, right? Because you're guaranteed to dig, but it's the final 6 to 4 weeks where a lot of things can go wrong from a recovery related standpoint, where physiques can just get washed out, heavily, oversaturated as per fatigue, and they get in a hole that's unrecoverable, so to say. So that really opened my eyes in terms of how little we can do to get a good return in terms of fat loss and alleviating stress in the body. So by the end of things, man, he was doing barely any training, barely any cardio. His steps were through the roof. That was Kev's issue. And every day, every week he'd check in, and it's like he'd done the bloody London Marathon. I was like, what have you been doing? He's like, oh, well, I've just been doing the house and doing this. And I'm like, Kev, there's no way clearing the house amasses 25,000 steps, my guy. What are you doing? Yeah. So after some stern words, we started to rein things in, and then it just started improving. And then come the end of things, man, it was a very relaxed, stress-free, bubbly, full and conditioned look that he was just delighted with, mate. As a coach, I'm always very analytical of my own decision making and things and how to manage. But because we'd had that experience, because we kept hires in consistently, I had a really good idea of how to bring things together, and the outcome was perfect, man. That was the first time Kev's ever won anything, and for me, mate, that was icing the cake. Hearing his feedback, saying I'm the best I've ever been. As a coach, it's what any coach wants to hear, but it doesn't fulfill me as a coach. I want to be producing athletes that are winning. I don't want to be producing athletes that are, second call-outs, third, second. I want to be producing the best. That is my vision as a coach, and that's where I want to be within the industry. And like I said, because of that unification, because there was all these beautiful moments going on, the day down was beautiful. It was just like probably one of my favourite peaks to date, man. And it's just so rewarding when you're that invested in your clients. And that is another reason why I think it's important that coaches do build that rapport, because subconsciously, man, you will go above and beyond the realm of expectation. And I mean, you'll know this yourself after working with a few coaches, mate. What I always try and do is just piece together the good for what I like. Yeah. And I listen to the bad, but I'm just like, that's bad, I don't want it. Yeah. And you can eventually just start to develop your own kind of idyllic setting of what a coach should be. And I think we're probably in a similar position whereby we're climbing the ranks, we're doing what we want to be, but the limiting factor with a lot of coaches these days, particularly the ones that are super, super busy, they just don't have that personability. Yeah. They're just not interested because they've got another 5 IFBB pros and you're competing at the fucking Loch Ellie Classic that no one really cares about. And my job, at least the way that I've kind of identified, or at least the bracket I've kind of put myself in, is I kind of want to be that middleman. But if I can cultivate athletes from the inside and they can grow alongside me, I'm eventually going to be one of the top dogs in the coaching realm. At least that's what I want. And I'm not trying to be big-headed or anything. I'm just floating where I want to be as a coach. I want to be producing the best in Scotland. I want to be producing the best in the UK. And I know it's going to take time, but it starts at that surface level. It starts at fostering those young bucks and bringing them through the ranks, treating them like a pro, giving them that service so they feel valued, they feel cared for. And then, like I said, growing alongside them, and hopefully by that point that they're locked in and that you've displayed that you've given them everything and the results are shown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really cool, as you say, the mentioning building that relationship, because it can lack, and I think that's a necessary step between, anyone can get to that first part where you're just like a guy in the gym. You start, I don't know, you do your first cycle and you're now the biggest guy in your pure gym. It's like, congratulations. But going from that to being a legitimate competitor, it's it's a bit of a fucking minefield. We all know the names of the coaches who are coaching IFBB pros and delivering these on stage, but coaching an IFBB pro with a physique with 10 years of experience behind it and insane genetics is a very different coaching experience than working with as you said, the in between.
Yep. I certainly find that the more skilled an athlete is, or the more advanced they are, the less it's about me reinventing the wheel. Granted, I will propose some things, but they've got good muscle, they've built it, they know what works. It's a case of, like I said, meeting in the middle, seeing where we can improve, and kind of offering recommendations. Because, like I said, they've built that muscle, they know how to grow muscle. Much like us, we know what works, we know what we enjoy. It's just a case of holding their hand, navigating that minefield, and just try, add on the percents where possible without, like I said, detracting from what they love. I mean, our training styles used to be quite comparable, whereas now they seem quite different. I feel like you're maybe transitioning back into a low volume block. I don't know how Hilly.
I've just this week finished my first go at low volume again.
And I think that's really, really good because you've done higher volume stuff, so now you're going back to the low. You seem to progress very, very well with the escalated model. Let's see what happens here. And I know that Hilly will be asking you the same questions as per the return on investment of the sessions, the rate of growth. And then you'll be able to, after trial this, and then potentially take the good from the bad. And that could be the recipe for success. Or it might not be, you need to go back to the high volume.
Yeah, and that's literally the conversations we're having, because this is definitely the best response I've had over a period of time, like with absolutely no doubt. And it was funny because as I started doing it, because of my own past experience and also coaching experiences working with Cooper and Stephen, they were both very low volume guys. In the grand scheme of things, I was quite reluctant to start higher volume because I don't know, what's this about?
It's fucking weird. How did he? Can you just elaborate on how he kind of structured things? Like, would you have one failure set and then a couple of sets prior? Down? Like, how did it work? Agile. I'm really interested in all this. I love training, man. It's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the general setup would be pretty much every exercise was 4 sets, or every movement was 4 sets of. It would be specific to the exercise, so it would either be on the lowest end with 8, although there were very few exercises that were 8, and it could go all the way up to generally 15. There's a couple of 20 reppers in there, and it would all be pyramid sets to 1 failure set, with like the second set being
1-2 hours.
Legitimately pretty hard. So the second last set would be pretty hard. So the first set is almost a glorified warm up, really, and that's the thing. We can then start breaking it down and be like, well, is it actually high volume because you're only doing 1 failure set per exercise? But then also the actual exercises per session were quite high as well. So I was doing like between 8 and maybe 10 exercises in a session. So it was
you're still going to be accumulating quality volume to an extent, so it's not like it's junk. Maybe the first one arguably might not be that taxing, but it's going to serve a purpose to drive blood into the muscle, get everything nice and warm, reduce the risk of injury, all that sort of stuff. So realistically, you've still got a good 3 quality sets in you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely enforce like mind-muscle connection, and like by the time you get to that failure set, it was like you're super confident with the movement. You know that like what's doing the movement, and because I feel like sometimes you'll be the same, although it happens less often now. When you know that you've only got that like 1 set to make it count kind of thing, you're pyramiding up your reps in a traditional low volume kind of style. If you fuck up that top set in terms of like your execution, it puts you in a really weird place of being like, should I do it again? Like, or have I just got to accept that this is it? Whereas if you've done all these feeder sets, like you know if you're going to execute it right because you've just done 40 reps or whatever with it already. But yeah, we kind of ran that. There were a couple of exercises that were slightly different, like, and I'm definitely going to take those away. I really like there were a few sets where we do like a set of 20, a set of 15, a set of 12, and then it'd be like a failure set of like 8 to 10. I found that really an interesting model of doing things because you would use lower weight with the 20 and you could get kind of closer to failure, it would be effective, and then you could increase the load, but because you're only going for 15 reps, you're kind of staying in that proximity to failure more easily up until the last set. So I did that with like leg press, which was pretty horrific, but in a good kind of way. Yeah, but I've taken away and I've been like, I actually really like that, and it also did reduce the load exposure, which is good for me because I struggle not to just fucking want to put as much weight as possible on the bar. I really have to talk myself out of that, so it forced me to do that.
I think it also forces you to just get the most from the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am. I'm kind of like in this weird camp of training. Personally, I'm kind of like this kind of. I used to just be like all in, optimize everything, bro. As you know, that used to be me. Whereas,
as was I for a while.
Whereas over time, like I said, I've taken the good from the bad, and I've realised that as long as you connect with something, as long as you can train hard, you're going to see productive returns. And personally speaking, I've never been a massive pursuer of strength. Okay, from conversations I've had with people around me, a lot of people think that could potentially be my downfall. But I'm still progressing yearly. I'm getting high quality sessions. My joints are happy, healthy. I'm not one of these bodybuilders that's like, oh bro, I'm fucking, my pecs gone and my fucking knees this and my hips are that. I am able to just keep on going. Yeah. Where other people are stopping and staggering, I'm still fucking going. So see you later, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Just because of that awareness. Now, sure, I still train hard and I still train heavy, but for me, there's almost this like hierarchy. You know, I need to be able to feel it. I need to be able to ensure execution's on point. I need to make sure that, you know, I'm pushing the weights. Like as long as I'm ticking those 3 boxes, that constitutes a good set for me, and I'm happy to leave it there. Whereas I've done sets in the past, and I'm coming off it, and there's absolutely no demand in the muscle. It's just all joints and structural.
Yeah,
I'll get off, my hips are burst. You'll know what I mean. You know, it's something that you can't quite explain, but if any experienced lifters are listening, they will know the difference between a high quality set where the load is appropriate and then a fuck it set where they've just slapped in as much as they can and there's been very little stimulus, but this huge backlash in terms of fatigue and implications on your recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what is your training like now? Because I know you're working with Martin. From what I've heard from some other people, it seems to be slightly higher volume, but how would you describe your training now?
Martin's kind of in the mid camp. He's kind of like not high volume, but not low volume, which to be honest with you, is what I think you need, at least in certain muscle groups. Like for me, you know, and probably yourself as well, I don't think we need to do much to grow our legs. Like you have insane quads, mate. Your quads are fucking wild. My quads have always been a bit of a strong point, so I only need to do 2 working sets of quads a week, and I've done that for the past 3 working sets pretty much. 3 working sets of quads a week, and I've done that for 2 years maybe. But every year they're still going. But this year for me was a wee piddly wink chest and some fucking pea-shooters here. So what I found is if you can identify, you know, what is going to grow at that kind of baseline volume, and then everything else, just give it that more gentle nudge, and that allows you to make recovery on those kind of heavier hitting sessions, or at least the stronger sessions, you could say, with the body parts that are more responsive, and then overload and drive as much blood as what you can. So I personally find this actually being the best approach. Martin is far less technical as well, which, you know, I was kind of having this conversation with a few of my mates, and the issue that I have is I'm in my own head 24/7. I'm constantly second guessing my progress. I'm constantly second guessing if I'm doing enough. Whereas what Martin's done is, I call him Unky Martin, right? He's just like he's such a nice guy, but like he speaks with a lot of authority, but passion and enthusiasm. It's not like it's my way or the highway. It's like, hey bud, so we're going to do this because I know this happens and this happens. We're going to streamline things. And personally speaking, because I'm incredibly over analytical, having that just like calm amongst the chaos has totally kind of like just given me a little bit more breathing space and move it.
2 seconds. I'm just going to have to quickly go to my door and get this. I think it's actually my coffee baby has arrived. So
Congrats. Go grab it.
Apologies for that. That was very unprofessional.
You know what, mate? Family duties, man. You're going to have to fucking get used to that shit.
Yeah, Kirsty was like, right, please just answer the door. Like, I don't want to leave it with a neighbour or whatever. Just get it.
Yeah, man. Don't worry. What was I saying?
Sorry, Uncle Martin.
Yeah, Unky Martin. So he's really just simplified things, and for someone like me, that, like I said, is just like it really has made a bit of an impact. It's kept stress low. I was getting quite frustrated for a while just with my progress. I just wasn't seeing that return on investment, mate. And just having things simplified has taught me a lot again. You know, it's just like you don't need to be doing all these elaborate setups. You don't need to be doing this. And I do believe that an athlete should develop over time in terms of their needs, and you know that it's just a case of maturing and being a little more open-minded. And I definitely think it's helped me a lot, man. Helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So no,
it's funny. So I was going to say, it's funny when you said that, because like that's the same thing I had with Hilly. Coming from Cuba, it was very technical in his setup, right? He was very analytical. He taught me fucking so much about training and just in general treating myself like an athlete, and like it did get to that part where you can big brain like everything, and like every single thing you could explain 5 ways why it is where it's there and why you're doing it, which is great. But then I started working with Hilly, and it's like his training plans would just be like an incline press.
And I bet initially you're quite underwhelmed. You're a bit like, is this it?
Well, I started trying to oversmart it and be like, gosh, which press should I pick to get the best like resistance profile setup, and I still do that maybe to an extent, but I eventually got to the point where I was like, it matters, but it doesn't matter to the extent of like it's going to be make or break the progress part. Actually, just enjoying it and following the plan and being able to go all in on it is way more important than sitting getting so caught up in your head that you're second guessing everything.
That's a bloody soundbite and a half, mate. Like that is absolutely bang on the money. Absolutely bang on the money. I could not agree more.
Wait a second, someone else is going on my door. 2 seconds.
Boring.
So it's just the most aggressive postman ever, just firing stuff through my mailbox for some reason. Right. So Martin, how is your training actually changed? So as you say, simplified things, but like what does that actually mean?
Pretty much back to a bit of a kind of adjusted bro split. So push frequencies times 2 per week, which is obviously required for this. I've got an arm day, which I think is needed. I think that when you're starting out, I think you need to prioritise overall depth and density. Okay, and then when you've got a bit of muscle, then you can start fine tuning. Then you can start being a little bit more specific. And I think we're at a level now where we do need to be a little bit more specific because of the muscle that we do hold. And so for a while, dude, I would always kind of pair arms on at the end or this and that. Yep. But just having an isolated arm day, I have seen good return. There's still pea shooters and they still need to come up, but they are improving. And the good thing as well with Martin is it's like if I say this is a little bit too much, and because I track everything and all my days are pretty much the same Monday through Sunday, it's very easy for me to kind of like draw correlations from like a position of authority and stability and say, right, everything else is banging the money. This should not be happening in terms of the reps here, here, and here. Do we need to maybe pull things back a little bit? And Martin's very trusting of that. Very trusting. He's like, dude, we may do a little bit much here. Let's just pull this back a little bit. And I think that's so important that a coach should be open-minded. You know, like I've worked with coaches in the past that have not been open-minded, and it leaves you questioning yourself. It leaves you obviously potentially having a little bit of distrust towards the coach, maybe that they're not listening. Whereas, like I said, in order to get the most out of an athlete, I do think it needs to be, you know, a partnership, far from a dictatorship. Especially the further up that you go, because when you're younger, you don't know the right from the fucking wrong until you try it.
Yeah.
You know, so I do think you need to kind of surrender to the process as a young up and comer. Yeah. And then once you've got that foundation, then you can start trusting yourself. Now that was a good thing about my prior prep with Dan Bassick, is that it allowed me to, you know, float some ideas in terms of how my physique was, what I think could potentially eke out that little bit more progress. And every single decision or every single time I floated something, we would see that return that we were looking for. And as an athlete, and especially as a coach, that was very empowering, and it made me enjoy the process more instead of just being yes or no sir. Because I do think that a certain athlete does need to have a yes or no sir approach. But like I said, the older that you get, the more time under your belt that you have in this sport, I do believe that there should be some back and forth and some dialogue amongst you guys. And the thing with diets, man, is that you don't have as much time as what you think, but you have more time than what you think. So you're able to try something, and if it's not going to work, sound. Because the reality is you'll know if you're ready at 3 weeks out. If you're not thereabouts at 3 weeks out, you're not going to be ready, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas we had that time to take a little bit of a risk and do this and do that, potentially take our foot off the gas here and there, and the return was bang on the money.
I think you need to earn that autonomy. Like, you need to have put in the time, put in the effort, and being all in on a process for you to then make that, to start floating suggestions and start kind of adding your 2 cents. Because I definitely have to explain to some of the guys that I work with who are kind of just getting their foot in the door with the real bodybuilding, and start going from taking that next step, and trying to get them to understand that, like, I absolutely will. Obviously, I'll listen to their preferences and what they enjoy, but I need to see them actually do the whole thing first. And then, okay, we can start talking about preferences and whatever, because what you're doing right now obviously didn't work, or hasn't worked, because you've not got to the first, you're not on the first step yet. And
I can almost guarantee that, like, if someone is sending you links to TikTok or fucking random links to Instagram about exercise or dietary adjustments, things like that, it's probably bollocks.
So much of it.
These things are just tried and tested, and I think everyone is constantly looking to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't help that there's a never-ending influx of cases of studies here and here with regards to nutrition, digestion, training, so it can become quite overwhelming. But like I said, over time, I kind of realised that a lot of these big old school boys, they were onto something. Something. And like I said, it's a case of, like I said, with my own training now, taking the good pieces from that I actively resonate with, and then maybe not putting everything and having that balance. I'm a bit of like a hybrid bro in that sense. I would say I'm probably more so leaning towards the data side of things, but it's like a 60-40 split.
I can definitely resonate with that, because it's, again, working with Hilly, I've got to kind of go back a bit more, kind of more old school style approach, like from obviously training to PEDs to even like nutrition. It's a bit more basic, but I still take some of the stuff, like, for example, like Makuba, to do with like deloads. I'm not afraid to do it now. I maybe don't do it as frequently as I did, but like, obviously talk to some old school pros and like, what the fuck's a deload? Like, they don't believe in it, but there's no reason why I can't do a bit of both. It's the same with the exercises. Like, I'll do single arm cable row and get all accurate with it, but I'll also smash a back squat with a free bar. You can do both, and you can do a blend of both. And it's the same with like PEDs, for example. Like, I'm now back to running a higher test than AI, which is very not new school. But I'm also running DHB, which is like a brand new drug, and or it's not really new, but like
DHB is the boy. Yeah, I absolutely love it, mate. I absolutely love it. If I could live off of DHB, I bloody would, man. Bloody would. I started using it last year, and it's probably the most impactful compound that I think I've used. Just the fullness. I feel like it benefits your body composition, strength wise. In terms of pinning volume, the highest I've pushed has been 300 meg, and the volume of it's nothing crazy. And I've yet to see it kind of translate poorly in my blood. Something that I'm willing to do this time is, it's not really discussed that much, because a lot of people are really concerned about the impact it can have on your kidneys and of course your liver, but because people haven't really pushed the boat too much, it leaves me with a bit of a question mark in terms of the realm of possibility with it. So I think I'm going to see if we can jimmy it up a little bit more this time and see what the return is on it. Monitor my bloods alongside it to make sure that things are not getting out of whack.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not surprised to hear that you're using it because Dan Bastick's on about it all the time, right? I mean, he's done a really good job of like kind of promoting it and speaking about it, and obviously then he's good with he's works with Hilly, so then Hilly's learned about BHP, and now that's what I've kind of passed on. But I completely agree. Like, it's the first time being exposed to it is in this recent blast that happens to be my most successful one I've had. It's kind of solved some issues I've had with body composition. I was the strongest I've ever been while doing all the volume, which shouldn't really make sense. Yeah, I'm not seeing the negatives. Again, I need to do my blood work, so that. But I think from what I've heard, Americans do push the dose a lot higher, though.
What have they
from
them?
Well, no, because it's all in like kind of shite forums where no one's even yeah, exactly. They're not really even posting blood work and stuff like that. But I have seen and heard of people doing like 4 or 5. I'm sure I've seen 600 before. Also, I think with Americans, like half their gear's fake and underdosed, and it's a bit of a minefield there.
Yeah, I think if you kind of were to dig a little into the American side of the drugs, it's very spit and sawdust, but like they do send it. They do send it. I think that for us, like in the realm of kind of like elevated or kind of like advanced amateurs, it's not uncommon for guys to be running about 2 grams of gear, whereas over there, dude, you're seeing 3, 4, 5 grams. A gram of test, a gram of mast, 600 megatren, AI's in as well. Like, I don't fucking understand loads of stuff like that. And I think you made a good point as well with the kind of test and the AI is that a lot of people have the fear of using AIs. Like personally speaking, I don't use them often because I don't really need to. I will sometimes use them for my clients in peak week and things as such. But with that, I will just use a DHT to manage my estrogen. But people need to remember that there's going to be the same impacts when it comes to dyslipidemia from using an AI and from using an escalated DHT. So it's really what you can get on best with. And I think that a lot of people need to be so aware of the interindividuality of the drugs and the impact that they can have. Everyone raves about Primo, but I know boys that look at Primo and come out in spots and welches. I know boys that can run tren at 150 meg to 200, and a whole off season and show there's no consequences at all. And then you've got someone that looks at 90 meg and becomes an angry, sweaty, horny mess.
Yeah.
With all the nasty sides. And again, I think this comes down to, an experienced coach should be able to look at your bloods, should be able to take on board your feedback and make do with it, what they can. But I always find that the best stack is the one that makes you feel good. The one where there's minimal mental repercussions, because most people should know the biggest kind of enemy of a bodybuilder is going to be stress, their body's net tolerance. And I find that when I'm in a good headspace, everything clicks outside of the gym and inside of the gym. My self-talk is better, my own perception of myself is better, my own stress management and recovery is better, not because of the drugs but because of the mental implications. So there's certain things that I just don't even touch because it makes me just feel a bit sad. I'm not kind of bodybuilder that gets angry. I'm always quite a pleasant, enthusiastic individual, and I don't like feeling sad. So things that I can't do.
It's really powerful, as you say, your self-talk and how you see and talk to yourself and treat yourself. I think is like massively important, not just in bodybuilding. It's just fucking it's undervalued in life. Like, people just don't realize, like, if you talk badly about yourself and you see yourself as a failure or lazy or anxious or down or whatever, like, that's the person you're going to be, because you decide that in your head.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, but like, after having looked at your transformation, I don't think I'd be wrong in saying that there was a point in time where you were very low and your self-worth, or at least how you characterise yourself, was poor. Whereas that's why I think is so, and I'm really glad you actually mentioned it, because it was something I was thinking about when I was on my walk beforehand, is to kind of get into the mindset side of things, because it is so overlooked, mate, so overlooked. You got to see things to make it happen. You got to almost taste it. You got to feel it. You got to be able to harness that will and fake it till you make it. Like throughout that prep there, I was speaking to a sports psychologist every week, and the impact was insane. The biggest concern that I have on prep is a preemptive dig. I'll get the work done, but I do not enjoy dragging ass. But what that allowed me to do was reframe and look at things from another point of view and stop feeling sorry for myself. And the overall impact of the fluidity of the prep was night and day. I loved it, mate. I loved it. It was so much fun. There was a couple rough days, yeah, sure, but mate, like I felt unstoppable. Every
Yeah.
single day I was telling myself, I've got this, it's another day, light work. I used to get anxiety before jumping on the cardio bike because I've got 30 minutes of 140 beats per minute on a bike, which is agony.
Nah.
But at the end of it, I was just
Really fast.
unfazed. I could just
Yeah.
jump on it. I wouldn't think. I'm a man of routine. I'm a man of journaling. I'm a man of lists and timelines and everything. And
Yeah.
just being able to liaise the two gave me such an amount of comfort and power as well going into it. Like I believed in myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I think that does translate to your body as well, because a stressed body is not gonna look the same. And but I mean, a measure of successful prep. I know you said that you don't just want to kind of do bodybuilding for satisfaction. You want to produce winners, but I think that things go hand in hand. But like, is it a successful prep if you've like tanked all the relationships that are important to you? It's you might have a sword at the end of the day, but like life has got to go on. The day after that. I kind of talked about it with Sam in the last podcast actually, but like the prep I did with Cuba, so second last prep, and this is absolutely not related to Cuba, but I put so much stress on myself in that prep because it was the first time that I'd gone really all in on bodybuilding and felt like there was at the time a slight feeling of sacrifice to bodybuilding, because I was still adjusting to, I was really into music scene and stuff for a long time, and like I had to stop going out and annihilating myself on nights out and like kind of doing this kind of party lifestyle. And I did the off season, and I scaled it back. Still not maybe as much as I should have, but I scaled it back. And I went into this prep, and I'd not long been with my now wife, Kirsty, and like I was so concerned in that prep of like I was ruining her experience of me, that it tanked my own mindset, and I was like, I'm being selfish, and that made me act in a certain way. Like I thought that, and afterwards, I did end up speaking to a counsellor or a therapist, and that was through BetterHelp. One of the best things I did, like proper amazing thing, and I should have done it so much before I did it, unbelievably before I did it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the prep, me and Kirsty sat down, we had this big discussion with it, and I realised that I love bodybuilding and I don't need to put this pressure on myself. Like, me winning or losing was kind of irrelevant, because in that prep especially, I had put a lot of pressure on myself, because I kind of told myself, if this prep doesn't go well, maybe I just shouldn't be doing this. And I told myself that. And then I went and did PCA Manchester Novice and got 5th place. I think arguably could have got 4th, but like admittedly there were some fucking really good guys there. Some really good guys. Guy who won the British was there. Guy who got 2nd won the FitX British, and the 3rd place and 4th place were also they were good guys, right? And it was my first time being peeled, obviously with Cuba, so like the suffering was in full effect. I had suffered for quite a fucking while, and I got 5th, and like I honestly wouldn't really discuss this because it was kind of, I felt embarrassing at the time, but like I was like nearly in tears on stage getting 5th because I felt like a total failure. Afterwards, about 4 days later, I saw the stage pictures and I was like, I look fucking great. That's the best I've ever looked. And that feeling completely subsided. But in the moment, it was absolutely chaotic. I basically ran off stage, ran straight to the car, had a fucking parking ticket, which is exactly what you want afterwards. And like I had 2 shows the following weekends as well, and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? But fast forward to the last prep I did, and my headspace about it was never better. And a big part of that was I just decided before I went in, I was like, this is going to be a positive prep. And I kept telling myself the whole way through, this is going to be a positive prep. It's like I knew from the last prep that I could get in shape. I knew from the last prep that like, regardless of the outcome, I'm still going to be proud of the physique that I presented. I was very confident in that, because I was like, I know I'm better than I was the last time. There's no way I can't be better than the last time. And it was amazing. Like there was none of that pressure was there. I was a happy person to be around. Like even a couple of weeks out, like people were coming up to me in the gym and being like, I'm not a fucking social person at the best time, but I started getting to know people in the gym a bit more. and some of the guys were genuinely coming up to me and being like, I can't believe like you're in prep. Why are you this happy and chatty? And I was partly because I was like filled with stimulants, but mostly it's just because I was like in a better headspace, and it made an unbelievable difference. And then I also presented a better physique on stage.
A part of me, and this might be a little bit not contradictory, but a part of me does believe that everyone needs to have that prep where they go all in and become a little bit introverted, though, because it teaches you a lot of value. It gives you a lot of experience of the person that you could be and the person that you want to be, and especially when it comes to your self-talk, because like you said, dude, that the preps were night and day in terms of the enjoyment, because of what you were saying, because of how you were acting. But again, I think that everyone needs to pigeonhole themselves for a short amount of time, because you might not see this, but I think you'll appreciate it now. See, if you hadn't done that prep the way you had done, things wouldn't have worked out the way they had done this season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everything that we do in bodybuilding is not about the now. It's not even about the next year. It's about the year after. It's about the year after. Every single decision that we make is going to have some form of impact. I don't care if it's 1%. Bodybuilders should be looking to capitalise on every single percent that is available to them at that point, because it will pay you back at some point. It's guaranteed to have some form of investment, and that is what I will always try and instill in my guys, is that every decision that you make, unfortunately, can have a repercussion at some point, be that some subtle breaking down of habits, be that of accumulating too much weight, be that of accumulating not enough weight. You know, you gotta break everything down and just be aware that there is consequences to every action. That is why I do enjoy bodybuilding as well, is that there is typically an immediate return, but when I say an immediate return, it's fractional.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, it compounds.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you've got to touch the fire to know what it feels like to be burnt. That's not the same, but we'll just go with it. But like you've got to make a mistake to know that it was a mistake.
Yep.
And that applies in life and bodybuilding, and two of those things can kind of go in hand when you're doing a prep, because you're trying to manage real life, whatever that may be, and also push your body. No, don't.
When I was on prep, dude, like one of the most impactful podcasts I've ever watched in my life was the Chris Williamson and Chris Bumstead podcast.
Yes, that was amazing.
It talks about champion mindset.
Yeah.
And for me, mate, that resonated so heavily, mate. Like, I want to be, I'll just say, I want to be one of the best in Scotland. That is my vision. I want to go there. And dude, I am like, I'm nowhere within that top roster. Okay, like in terms of the big names, I'm not floated amongst that yet. But I would like to be at some point, and I've got that vision.
And you're well on the post to that. Like, I mean, the people you're not in the same lanes with are like Andy stuff.
Yeah.
Like the pro, like that's the difference between you and them. Right now.
I want to be able to get to that standard, but still have my morals intact. I don't want to be a different person. Like, I naturally am a very enthusiastic, welcoming, and positive person, and I need to be an ambassador for the sport. That is what I want to be, not just as a person, but as a coach as well. And I have this full sense of walking the walk. But like you said, dude, there needs to be a little bit of emotional and mental wiggle room there to understand that things are not always going to be perfect, and sometimes you have to put other people first. But what you find is that when you start prioritising other people over yourself and stop being so selfish, you have this return from them in terms of buy-in that is so supportive, and it creates further emotional drive and willingness to go above and beyond in that prep. You know, and that
absolutely
exactly what I want to be.
Yeah, and I think you'll understand that like sometimes prioritizing yourself is helping other people, and like if you just give away all the parts of yourself, you can't be the best person you can be anyway. So you've got to do that, and that's why like it's become important to me to still have various routines from prep that I still have. I still do my cardio every morning, which is me time, even with Kirsty who's pregnant, and thankfully she's on board and isn't phased by these things. And like I've said to her, I'm like, I'm still going to train, and I still want to train post, obviously, as much as I normally would post pregnancy, because I'm like, I'm going to, I need that time for me to be the person that I need to be, because like for me, I know which is like gym is therapy kind of thing, which is kind of nonsense. If anyone's listening to this, gym isn't actually therapy, right? If you need therapy, go and get therapy. But like, I see it more like meditation, because like when you're doing the stuff that we need to do, you've got, you know, however many plates in the leg press. Like, you can't think about anything else other than not dying under the leg press. Like, there's no time for the other noises that go on, and that's why I think it's really important. And that's also why I think with some of the not in every case, but like some of the more advanced bodybuilders I've met, most of the time they're people that I get on with, and they're similar minds, and there's depth to them. You know, I think that we kind of think, or other people might think, bodybuilders, meatheads, you know, they just care about their abs or bicep size or whatever. But once you get past a certain point, you know, once you're past like men's physique, right? Like but yeah, once you get to a certain point, you've got to have this kind of mentality, and the gym becomes more than just the size of your bicep. For me, it's like a temple. It's meditation.
100%, man. And again, that's a really good kind of caveat to the point that a lot of people from the outside in will look at bodybuilders and think they're quite egotistical because they're building their body. But like, it's not about that. It's never been about that for me. Yeah. I enjoy looking good, but like, I know for a fact that when I look in the mirror and when you look in the mirror, you're probably a little bit unsatisfied. Granted, you're happy as you've been, but unsatisfied. You're seeing all these flaws. When I go out, man, I'm wearing baggy things. Like, I want to be comfortable. I don't like wearing tight things that are going to draw attention. Like, it's not about that, mate. It's about the progress. It's about the consistency. It's about the lifestyle. I love every single part about it, and it genuinely has made me a better person. Genuinely, man. So I don't care what people on the outside are looking. I sometimes feel like, see, if you go into like a restaurant or something, I don't know if you'll get this, but we sometimes had the odd person just looking at you.
Yeah, it does happen, for sure.
I sometimes feel a bit like, kind of like uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, sound cool, whatever. Especially when I was on holiday there, cutting about tops off. I'm not doing it. I'm not cutting about tops off to be a show. That's not what I'm doing, right? It's almost just like an accessory to the time that we've put in. And sure, we're in we're in a sport that is physique based, but it's just about those checkpoints. And seeing that tangible progress, that's what makes me feel good. Yeah. Looking back in 2024 and seeing, or 2023, and seeing the muscle that's put on, that for me is so fulfilling. That for me tells me I've done my job and I'm setting my standards high and I'm maintaining those standards.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our internal validation is like massively important. It's important that we're doing it for our own reasons and for ourselves, but it's an interesting experience when you get that external validation. Like when it was after my last prep, went on holiday to a wee town in Spain, just by the coast. It was like cheap package holiday kind of thing, just get away and sit on the beach was the plan. I was training at this tiny wee gym, and like I had a really weird experience of this little dude came up to me, and I thought he was trying to work into the kit, and he started speaking to me in Spanish. I didn't know what he was saying. He started speaking English, and he was wanting a photo with me because he'd never seen a bodybuilder before. And I was like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, why do you want a photo with me?" And it was just, I was like 3 weeks post show, so I was like in pretty good shape, but like it was just this really surreal thing. And then I remember went and got like a massage at the resort, and like the woman afterwards was like, "Oh, that's really nice. I never actually get to massage anyone that I see their body." And I was like, "This is weird, man." Like, especially for me, like my image in my head, like it's taken me a long time to adjust from the person I was before, like a really long time to adjust.
But that's exactly it, mate. And I bet for you it was a bit of a full circle moment. I bet at some point you dreamt of someone coming up to you and saying, "Man, can I take a picture? You look fucking awesome." You know?
Yeah. Like that was not in my fucking wildest dreams would that have happened. Like, obviously that was the vision, but like, do you always believe that it was going to get there? Like, I didn't, to be honest. Like, I kind of was like, I felt like I was just going to.
But now, can you see that? Like, can you see that now? Can you see where you're going?
No, I can now. It's basically just taken long enough of like you can't deny it. Like, you
got to fake it till you fucking make it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is like, you have to fabricate that on your own because no one else is going to do that for you. Going back to what I was saying in terms of external validation, I don't get that from, Tom, Dick and Harry, like the usual people of the world, like normal. But see if you or Andy or Jack, all these people that I look up to, say something to me, I'm like, they wouldn't say that if they didn't see something. And that's the feedback that I like. But sure, if someone says I look good, I'm like, thank you, mate, cheers, I appreciate it. But always means so much more coming from someone that you aspire or have looked up to or have been pivotal in your career. Andy Scott was my first ever coach. And I've said this since day one. One of my long-term ambitions one day is to stand on a stage with him and compete against him.
That's full confidence will happen. Like
ever since day one, mate. Ever since I started coaching with him and did my first prep, I didn't say to anyone, but I just said, how cool would that be, mate? And I'm at a point now where, in a few years' time, that could happen, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make that happen. Now, there's no competitive aspect. Andy's just for me always been the pinnacle. Andy introduced me to the sport. He was my first coach. He still inspires and motivates me to this day, and I will always sing his praises. But he's that, he is that that next checkpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where I need to be. That's when I'm like, right, you're doing something now. And then once that's ticked off, we reframe, we set some bigger goals, and we keep going from there. But again,
absolutely. I think you've got to set those goals, and you've got to have things that are even if they weren't happening, you've got to believe that they were. You have stretch goals, and then you figure out what do you need to do to get there, and that's effectively just how you progress, and that's obviously that's how you progress, right? But if you don't have the stretch goal and you don't have some belief that you can do it, then how are you going to get there? I know that I have goals within bodybuilding, and they've shifted over the years. I keep them to myself, but they're not crazy aspirational goals, but they're realistic targets for myself. But it's still not going to be easy to get there. I know that it's quite funny actually. I think the first time I became aware of you actually was during your first prep, because I was also in prep. And I remember, I think it must have been Andy Scott probably reposted you because he was coaching you at the time. I was getting ready for the Scottish PCA first timers before COVID. It wasn't the first timer show, first timer class in the PCA Scottish. And I was like, this is a guy that we're going to be on similar levels because we were prepping. It was first prep. Now I'm absolutely chasing you, and that's one of my goals is that I want to be standing on stage with you and being competitive with that, because I know that you're like the step ahead in terms of physique progression that I want to get to. And I think it's important to do that, and you can do that in a way that's it's igniting it's a competitive spirit, but not in a
derogatory manner,
negative way. Yeah, in a way that we can still sit and have this chat, or you obviously will get on with Andy, and that's how you should be.
I think it's because we all have respect for one another.
Yeah.
I think we all know the blood, the sweat, the graft that goes in, and I know for a fact that if when that time comes and we're on stage together, man, it's going to be a fucking great time. It's going to be a couple of lads that have been chasing this shit down for years, with some targets in the back of their head, wanting to display them at their absolute best, and everyone needs to have. That I do think that everyone needs to. Comparison is the thief of joy, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important to have little landmarks across the way just to know where you stand.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, tick that box on to the next. Because I know for you, next time round, you want to be winning shows. You want to be winning.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're. I mean, it was there. It was there.
Yeah, it was there. I'm not fucking losing to Chris Payne ever again. If you're listening to this, I'm coming.
I'm glad you said that, brother. Honestly, I'd have just retired at that point, bro. I'd see ya.
Anyway, but it's not gonna. It's not I don't. Well, do everything I can to make it not. You can't decide what the judges decide, but you need those little things because for me, when I got second at Granite, I honestly, because of the way that they moved us around, right, I didn't think I was really in the mix for top two. Obviously, you can't critically look at everyone on stage. You don't fucking know. And they were moving us in front of the judges, so it wasn't top two were in the middle for the whole time either. And so I really didn't know where I was. When I got second, I thought that was fucking immense. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Because the best I'd got before was a third. I got a third in a smallish FitX class. I think there were 6 of us or something like that. And I got a third in my first show at a PCA first timers, right? And since then I hadn't done as well. So me getting second was immense. I thought this was fucking incredible, right? Like when they started calling people for placings, I genuinely, my first one I thought was, shit, I've not got 5th. Like that was where my head was. But as soon as I came on stage, it was like this amazing, elating experience. But then also I was like, but I was really fucking close to winning it though, wasn't it? Like it was in my grasp. Now I need to figure out how to do that. And it's how you've had a slightly different experience with your competitive journey, right? Because obviously you took the fucking overall in your first timer show, which was completely well deserved. As I say, that was literally one of the reasons why I signed up with Kubo, because I saw it was part of the view how fucking peeled you were for a first timer, and I was like, that's immense, right? That's what it should be. And then your second show was the MK Classic?
Second show was MK Classic.
Yeah, picked up an overall, but then you got second at a FitX show, isn't it?
FitX, yeah.
How? I mean, you could talk about how good it feels to win the overalls, right? But how did it feel getting the second?
I felt like I let a lot of people down for some reason. I had for me, my family's never really been into bodybuilding, right? It's farthest from it. My dad played football all his days, just like a proper working man, you know. Why am I going to come and see my son in a pair of sparkly pants? And I believe it or not, I actually went into MK with no expectation at all, because for me, it is a big step up going from a PCA first timer show to then an NPC regional. So to then I've taken my novice class, then I've taken the heavyweight class, and then I've taken the overall class. I couldn't believe it. But after that, okay, I did say to myself, look, you never know who's going to turn up. So just focus on yourself, do everything exactly as you've always done to 110% perfection, and what will be, will be. And I never want to get myself hyped up. That's it, man. As much as I value self-confidence and that belief, because of how competitive this sport is, and because of the level of muscle that I possess, I know that I'm never going to be the biggest guy on that stage, but I know for a fact that no one will trump me in condition. That is a non-negotiable for me, is that every single time I compete, I will be the most peeled person on that stage. That is my promise to myself. And so we ticked that off. So I was happy with the condition at the FitX, but it just wasn't rewarded. And it was bittersweet, man. It was bittersweet. I think that I took a lot of positives from it. I knew where I had to improve, and everything happened for a reason, man. You know, I've not skipped a single cardio session this year. I've not skipped a single ab and calf session this year, of which I had been doing in the past. You know, I've been even more diligent with everything where possible, and I can't rest assured that would have occurred if I'd taken another win there. You know, it's not about the setbacks, but the comeback. And for me, dude, I have got an even greater burning desire to not let that happen again. Next time I go compete, it needs to be an undeniable first and an overall again. And I'm not willing to rush it. And that's not me saying that I'm going to compete when I'm ready because I'm only going to do this. But the reality is that when you have done quite well, you don't want anything else than, you know, that first place trophy. Like I said, it was bittersweet to follow, to happen, but I'm better for it now, and I handled it the most appropriate way. I didn't go on social media and didn't run my mouth. I didn't disrespect the other athletes, because I know they'll have put in 110% as well. The odds just weren't in my favour on that day. But I know for a fact that next time I go to step on stage, there will be no doubts that is going to be mine. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm being big-headed or anything. It's just my internal dialogue tells me that I need to be even better, you know. And I'm doing it every.
Yeah, I think our losses, the losses are how we handle losses is what makes us
It sucks, right? You're like a ball head away from first. You're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. But how you handle that and how you step forward from there is how you grow and learn to do more. Because as you say, you've taken away, right? Okay, then there was still space to be better. And I think something that you can see with less experienced competitors, or maybe just some people, is they come off stage and they feel the need to make a jab at someone and kind of not respect the judge's opinions. And sometimes you've got a valid argument, right? You might have a valid argument, and half the audience might have told you that you should have placed higher or whatever. But at the end of the day, the sport works that's how it is, and it doesn't really fucking matter. Like, they've chosen whoever to win for whatever reason. You've got to. The only way forward from that is to learn from it, because arguing it is, just inflating your ego, and that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. And I think in terms of maturity as well, like, I think it teaches you a lot about. I think it shows a lot about that person if they're willing to go in and run their mouth as well. Like, I'll always be respectful in sport. Always win, draw, lose, shake the next man's hand, say congratulations. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, I'm gutted, I'm raging, I'm so frustrated. Yeah. But just don't let that show, because you've got people around you as well that rubs off on. It doesn't look the best. Yeah. If you've got your mates there and you're sat there all flat, they've made the effort to come and travel. Like, show them the respect, give them that time, acknowledge what's occurred, and get back to the drawing board and get a plan in place effective immediately. And if it really meant that much to you, it means that much to you, you'll do everything possible to make those improvements. Instead of just, I'm going to go and binge and do this because I'm so upset. Like, what does that do? It just sets you further away from where you want to be.
Absolutely. And there's no quicker way for me to think you're a wank than if I read something to do with, judges got it wrong, or fucking don't really understand it. Like, just put it up and move it. But speaking of that, you're in a cut at the moment, right? You're doing a mid-tidy up. I know you're not planning on competing for a while.
Yeah.
What's the game plan at the moment? What is going to be? What's going to be the moment that you're like, right, I'm ready to prep again?
There's a couple of targets that I have in mind now. My physique is quite an interesting one in the sense that, like, in the off season I look like a bit of a fridge, and then when I start dieting, everything starts tapering in, muscle bellies look better, the shape comes in, and I start to look like a more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm pretty much just waiting for. I've got a couple of targets in mind as per body weight, but the only thing that we're needing to try and manage just now is going to be the tangible rate of gain, the quality muscle versus the nonsense. So I'm in two minds. I'll either potentially dip in at the late end of next year and do that. I want to prep. I really want to. I enjoy it. It's good. It's fun. It's character building, mate. It makes a massive difference in terms of overall maturity and how you are as a person, I believe. But I need to make sure that I've got more where I need to have more. So if I can go back end of next year and pull in to the top end of the heavyweight class, which is going to be, I think, 103. Because last time I competed, I was at my lowest reading was 93 kilos, 94. Carved up on stage 97. So I've got 10 kilos worth of wiggle room, and typically based on what I've been seeing about 4 kilos on average of quality tissue per year. So, after having came off stage in September of last year, I do believe that I have put on roughly about the 4 to 5 mark up until this point. Yep. It might be a case of just running a bit of an analysis this time next year, seeing where I'm at. I mean, we're currently in August, so I would probably have had to start prep a month or two ago. But I'm just waiting for the green light from Martin. The thing that was quite concerning about going from Dan to Martin was Martin's one of the top dogs, right? Am I going to be a number? But dude, he has treated me like a bloody pro. He has given me so much attention, so much time, and that personally, going back to that kind of like self-worth and belief, fills with a lot of confidence, because I know that he wouldn't take me on. I know that he wouldn't give me that time if he didn't have that belief. So I'm just waiting for the green light from him. But personally speaking, I think that I would probably be better suited coming in at the top end of heavies comparatively to the bottom end of supers.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's one of those ones, man. I just need to wait and see, really. But the plan is, I think we're going to keep on dieting for about another 3 to 4 weeks. Dude, I feel great, man. I'm hungry, but not starving. I'm incredibly productive, which, I mean, you'll know yourself, when you push to the off season, you become just like a shell of a man. Like, people don't realise how hard it is being heavy.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Little to no motivation. Like doing a lap, of where I stay, I call it the circuit. it's 3,000 steps. At one point when I was cutting about 118, I'd have to stop like halfway through it to get like a breathe. Like I've been sending clients voice notes and I'm like, my God, I cannot bloody talk because I'm so out of breath.
Yeah.
So I'm riding the wave of productivity and I feel great for it. Like I see if I could just stay here year round and just carry on that 4 kilos, mate.
Yeah.
I'd be chuffed to bits, man, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No.
But I do also think that you got to push to that point to then realise how good it feels to start tapering things back and coming back around again. You know, a lot of people will call their off season short, whereas I've been at the point where I'm having a meal and I'm fighting the urge to be sick. It's taking me 40 minutes chasing it with water, get it down, to then, like I said, consolidate, come back. It feels really, really good. So yeah, I've taken off like 7 kilos so far across 3 weeks. I'm down another kilo this week, so that's like 8 kilos now. Martin wants me about 105. This is by far the most responsive my body's ever been. I've never seen anything like this happen to my physique ever. I used to always look at, you know, the Andes and the Greg Taylors of Scotland, and I was like, how can they just look like that all the time? Like how? And then how can they come in so quick? And now my body's just like, right, you're a bodybuilder now. This is what we're doing, and I'm like, this is awesome. I feel great. But again, mate, coming back to that, you know, like long-term goal of, you know, like 5 years ago, I had this vision. You know, I wanted to be hereabouts, mate, and I've been impeccable with my word, and I've held my standards, and I'm at a point now where it's happening, and it feels incredible. Like I actually feel like a bodybuilder, which it fills with so much excitement to see how my body's responding now, but then to imagine another 4 to 5 kilos worth of tissue, it's only going to be even more sensitive at that point. You know, it'll be the same with you, man. Like when you go into what are you up to just now?
I'm only like 106 kilos at the moment, but I mean, for me, not being fat is good.
So last time you were at 106, you were probably nowhere near where you're at.
No, that was the start of prep basically, and it was not the same at all. But yeah, it's playing that long term game. I mean, you posted in your stories the other day talking about how you over time learn your body will distribute fat differently, and it will change how it looks, and it will change how lean it stays and how responsive it stays. And like I'm seeing that again, because also, like you were saying, there was a while years ago where I was just like, I don't look like this year round. Like if I diet really hard, I can, you know, you get a bit of shape, and I can see, right, okay, that kind of looks like a bodybuilder, a small bodybuilder, but a bodybuilder. And then as soon as it would get to off season, just it all just kind of smushed away, and now I'm like starting to see that. I'm like, no, I've still got the shape there. I've still got lines, and it looks how you imagine it. But you've got to put in the years. You've got to earn that much muscle mass. I think that it probably does affect, you know, your nutrient partition. It probably does affect all these things.
I do think that when you're kind of like coming up through the ranks, you do have to suck up and get a little bit softer than what you want.
Yeah.
But like I said, over time it compounds, and you're a prime example, mate. Like you've kept your shape consistently. I would say that you and me, we're probably quite comparable in the sense that our physiques aren't fully displayed until we're leaner.
Yeah.
You know, like tight waist, your quads insert a little bit lower, but it gives you this crazy illusion of this elongated torso into high inserting lats. Like it's a really unique like the look that you have. But you can't see that in the off season until you start coming down because of where you hold body fat. Like whenever I've seen you, it's typically around the chest and around the stomach. Whereas now I'm like, you look like a bodybuilder, bro. But years ago, you know, through irrespective of what you're seeing in the mirror, you probably couldn't see that progression until now, and it makes you value every single step of the way. And to get to here, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's never going to happen overnight. Everyone's going to, you know, you can sell this fantastic plan or nutritional sheet that's going to promise you the world, but you need to spend time doing the work to eventually see it unfold and to eventually get to the position where we are now, where we can hold decent composition around. Sure, we're still going to be nitpicking ourselves and grabbing bits here and feeling fluffy, but you know, just have a little bit of perspective in terms of where you're at and where you're going. And I think for both of us just now, it's such an exciting point because our careers are just getting started. You know,
Yeah.
we've done the bitch work. Now
Yeah,
it's like,
basically.
yeah, we've done the bitch work, and now we're like, right, we're all in now. We can't go back. We're only up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, speaking of that, I thought interesting transition. I got a question which was actually from Big Sam. He was asking how much has moving to Bathgate affected your training and coaching. But to like put a tangent on that, like, you know, part of your development presumably has been like training at Flexion at full time and going in that. What influence has that played? What part has that played for you?
So I remember. So I used to live in Leith, and I would travel 50 minutes either way to go and train at Flex because it was the best gym. There's nothing in Edinburgh, which blows my mind. Blows my mind. Oh no, granted, Summit now. Shout out to Murray. He's done a fantastic job with it, mate.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. Should be really proud of what he's doing. The equipment is really, really leveled up, and I'm really, really happy for him. I've got a fair few clients at Summit just now, and it's clear to me that he's tried to do what he can to make it the space for people in Edinburgh. But like I said, dude, I joined Flex 5 years ago, and we're making that commute. And I remember saying, man, if I just lived nearer, it would cut down stress, it would do this, it would do that. And having like my own hub, which is, I mean, I'm only 8 minutes from Flex. 8 minutes. Yeah. It's wicked. And the people that come and go, the people that I meet, particularly being around the big guys, you know, is really good. Really good because, I mean, let's be real, with you and Summit, you're probably one of the biggest people there. You and Sam are probably going to be one of the biggest people there.
There's a couple, but yeah, it's...
You know? And so I don't know if there's anyone else. There's probably the odd one here and there.
I feel like James there. So although he's a bit of a manlet, so I don't know if it counts.
So yeah, you've got these boys, but being in that environment, you're subject to seeing the actual graft and work that goes in.
Yeah.
You know, like there's people there that are there 7 days a week that are just in pursuit of this goal, and being in the appropriate setting will do wonders. It's just like having a support network. Now, the thing with Flex, man, is that there's a lot of hard-working motherfuckers, a lot of blue-collar men that are quick to swipe you at the knees, mate. So if you ain't on the ball, you know, you're cannon fodder. You're cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've always loved that because it's kept me in my place. Like Brad, Adam, Gaz, they just perceive as a wee child. But in the back of my mind, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, you just keep waffling, man, because I'm coming. I'm knocking on some fucking doors, man. That excites me. Again, I don't see any competition with them. It's mostly just like, okay, this is where you're at. You guys are doing fucking awesome. I gotta front up. And when you've got these boys that are shifting what they're shifting and moving what they're moving and how they're moving, it's inspiring, mate. Like I train with a guy called Bradley Dennis. I don't know if you ever met Bradley.
Yeah, I was at my wedding. I've trained with Brad.
Oh yeah, so I mean,
Brad is absolutely insane how strong that man is.
Dude, if you want to be humbled, okay, he's probably in my eyes one of the strongest, if not the overall strongest amateur bodybuilder in the UK.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I trade legs with this motherfucker every week, and just being around that, and like going back to what we were saying earlier about kind of getting under heavyweight, right? I get a lot of comfort when he's there. He's like my babysitter. You know, like he'll do a set on the hack squat with like, I do 5-6 plates, he'll do 9, right? And I'm sat there thinking, if this crumbles me, I've got Big Brad here, but he's just done 9 plates for 10 reps. I can do this. This is not unsafe. Yeah. That is unsafe. You know, so it just kind of like keeps the bar raising.
Yeah.
And with what Brad's doing at Flex in terms of the new equipment, he's getting a sauna put in, he's just making it a real hub. And I love that I can go there. I love that I've been going there for a while. I feel part of the Flex family. I know they've all got my back. And to be considered kind of amongst them after chasing for so long it's just very inspiring and motivating, and it excites me for what's to come. You know, like I'm far from settled, much like yourself, and I'm only getting more excited over time. You know, like the first couple of years, kind of feel like hitting your head against the wall. And like I said, when you get that clean break and you're in that community and you're being respected amongst your peers, you're like, shit, man, with things where you need to be. But, like location, support network, that is absolutely everything. People say that bodybuilding is quite a solitary sport. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Speak to
Yeah, I mean,
people.
yeah, it's funny the kind of shared experience there because I live in Leith, so and I did my not recent prep but prep before out of Flexion. And I was going through it like 4 or 5 p.m. most days, so it was like hour minimum one way,
Yeah,
which
because the
was
traffic is hellish at that time.
it's unbelievable. But I did it for the kit and for the environment. Like the gym that I was training in before that, I was training at a place called the Bodybuilding Gym, and like there was I think one other guy who competed, and he wasn't in there all the time, and I felt like the big fish in the small pond, and I knew I was not a big fish yet. Like I was not even close to a big fish, but I needed that inspiration and went, and that's why I trained there. And I did 2 to 3 hours traveling, you know, two on I think it was 2 on 1 off for this whole prep, and yeah, it got to the end of it, and I was like, right, I do need a change. That's why I joined Summit just before it moved. So again, shout out to Murray, and now he's built this kind of good atmosphere where I'm feeling it again. I'm feeling you go in and you see the boys, and yeah, it's funny because in Summit I'm one of the more experienced ones. I'm one of the bigger guys who are chatting to the younger guys, whereas I still feel like I'm that guy when I go to somewhere like Flexion. But it also does feel like the precision coaching headquarters because the amount of fucking clients you've got in there just cutting about and like I've seen all of you before.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's nice going in and just see my clients get after it as well, man. Like I get a lot of motivation from them as well. They're all incredibly respectful as well. Like they know that when I come in the gym, because my schedule is quite busy, they give me that time. They come, they say hello. If I can grab them for an in-person check-in, I will. Yeah. But 9 out of 10 times they'll leave me to just get on with it, and I do believe that that's because they're able to prioritise themselves as well instead of lingering about, of which I really value and do appreciate. But I'm always there for them, and I think in the back of their mind it's kind of the same idea with me and the bigger guys. They know that Taylor's there, they're dialing in that little bit more. I know where I'm in the gym and there's heaps of the big guys I need to front up and I need to double down on these sessions and train to get to that next echelon, I love Flex, man. It's my second home, and I'll be there for forever, mate. I can't see me leaving.
Right, conscious time. So I want to answer another question. Who's from Jenny? I don't know if you coach Jenny, but I think she followed you. So it was: do you coach natural versus assisted athletes differently? Now, I think there's you could really quickly answer that and be like, you don't treat them differently, because I don't think you massively treat them differently. Like, what would be our main considerations that you're looking at?
So I think that everyone speaks about drugs and talks about how there's profound benefits to recovery. I think there's a bit of a U-shaped bell curve in that, but probably kind of binds to body weight. I think that drug exposure long term, I don't know if you've ever done like a rebound, a post-show rebound when you've kept drugs in. I've done
I'm not sure.
Mate, it's brutal. I'm never going to do one again. You're just dragging out the lethargy, you're just dragging it out, mate. You feel awful. And so what I find is that recovery, you treat about the same. Volume, you treat about the same. It's just based on what that person can manage at the time. Individual volume tolerance is going to vary week to week, day to day, month to month, based off of where they currently are, where they're going, and what you have planned. I find that there's a degree of nutritional changes that I will always do now from experience. So typically with assisted boys, if they're running, let's say, any insulin, things as such, I'll always keep their fats quite low. I just find if there's any unused fats, what's fat immediately going to be converted to and stored as? Fat. So I'll always just keep that at a kind of baseline dose of, for every kilo body weight, we'll do, half a gram of fat. Whereas with the assisted natural boys, I typically favour a higher fat approach just because, I don't know, I've seen it work quite well. You don't need to be quite so vigilant with it. Protein wise, again, I prefer to run a little bit of an escalated protein. I don't like to do 2 grams per pound. I think that's a little bit ambitious, but anywhere from 1.2 to 1.5, which I'll look to titrate up until I kind of get a bit of a sticking point as per digestion and appetite. But that's really it. I find that there is a little bit of variance from men to women. Female endocrine system's a little bit more complex. Fats are going to be far more essential for hormonal support and regulation. Whereas with boys, I don't pay too much attention so long as it's at that baseline dose. But no, training's the same, cardio's the same, nutrition's pretty much the same minus what I've just discussed. That's really it, man. You know, I think that a lot of naturals will wear it as like a badge of honour. Like, I am natural, fuck you, I'm better than you. Which I just find is nonsensical. Everyone's doing this for the same reasons. Yeah. They're like, shut up, get off your high horse. No one really cares about natural bodybuilding, I'm sorry. It is cool though, they all come in peeled to the bone. It's really, really impressive what they do. But, you know, I think that everyone is due the same level of respect. So no, I would treat it much so the same. I think for me, the biggest impact in coaching is just the psychology behind it. Like we've been talking about, I love the mindset side of things, man. And if I can get under the skin and press the right buttons and say the right thing and get them to act like an athlete, you know, before they're at that level, it typically does expedite progress. You know, like, I think we both know that if we gave someone a plan, or two people the plan, same plan, both at the same set point, the determining factor of progress is going to be their application and their effort. Yeah. Right? It always is, man. You can't cheat this. There's no way that you can cheat this. Even by throwing loads of drugs at it, there's no way that you can cheat this. Okay, you'll get to a certain point, things will hold, you'll never surpass that position unless you hold yourself to that highest standard possible. And it's my job to reinforce the continual demand for those behaviours. So that, I think that's probably where I differ more as a coach than most people, is that I am so big on goal setting. I'm so big on journaling, self-talk, visualization. You gotta see it. You know, you almost gotta be that person before it happens. Much of what we've been practicing for years, and we're in a position now where we're like, oh shit, you know. And it's just about having that long-term buy-in and realizing that it's not gonna occur overnight. But when you get to that point, you'll realize why you're there. Now, you mentioned about Kuba, right? Now, Kuba is notoriously hard on his athletes. Kuba was pivotal for my success as a bodybuilder. He taught me the importance of routine and the importance of accuracy. What I didn't like about Kuba is I felt a little bit more of a fucking robot. I felt like a carbon copy of him. And Joanna, my fiancée, she actually said it to me not that long ago. She's like, look, Kuba's really good for you, but I didn't really like who you were becoming. It was so selfish. And when I look back over my progress, like, it's just been relatively consistent throughout the duration, irrespective of the coach. So it just shows you that everything works, but I don't think that I would have the maturity, the accuracy, the consistency if it wasn't for working with Kuba. So I will always credit him. Granted, I think there were certain occasions where it be a little bit too harsh, and I'm sat there thinking, I can't do anything fucking right here, motherfucker. And don't you be sat there telling me this and this when I've got some inkling that you're chatting a bit of nonsense, right? Because you're not as perfect as what you're making out, my guy. And then just having that, like I said, that foundation set, that no bullshit, get it done, you're a fucking athlete, you're a pro, act like it, cut the shit, set me up for success. And I know that you'll probably agree with it. And like I said, it's about taking the good bits and the not so good bits and carrying that forward.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. Yeah, for me, like when I started with Kuba, I'd done my first show and I'd worked with Stephen for a long time, and he was definitely a lot more relaxed in his approach, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I knew that I was missing something. Kuba taught me how to be an athlete, really, and like live your life like an athlete and have that discipline and structure and routine and go to bed and wake up on time and all these kind of things. If any Kuba clients listening, you know the script on that. But I do agree also, there were times that went a bit the other way. I remember I went to see Bicep in Edinburgh, but it wasn't like an actual normal Bicep show. It was they were doing like an audio visual thing. Yeah. It was like not so much of like a party, it was more of like a performance,
an experience.
And posted a Instagram story there, and it was really quite early on working with him. I remember his check-in reply was like pretty fucking not okay with the fact that I'd had this night out, but I was like, No, I didn't have a night out. I was in home and in bed by 10 p.m., which it does say on my check-in. He was like, "I thought you were just lying, mate," and I was like, "No, calm down a bit."
Yeah,
Like
bro.
I did it, but it was
He's
that kind
like
of
that
thing.
psycho ex-bird that you just can't take off, man. But
But
again,
like, it did work. Like there were parts of it worked. Like,
no,
and I learned so much from it. And like now, even like working with Hilly, like he wouldn't enforce a lot of the same things. Like I still have a lot of those habits, and they're productive and they're pay off now. I still have them, even though I don't have to do it anymore. Not that I had to do it at the time,
you
but
see the
it did
benefit
get
of
bloody
it.
hard to do it.
You see the
Yeah,
benefit of it. I just
yeah,
find
massive.
it's a way that it's delivered. So for example, if I got like some young guys coming up, I am pretty hard on them. Like I always tell people when they come on board with things like, look, I know on social media I seem like a bag of fun. I sound like an arsehole saying that. I'm not, but I know I'm always quite positive, right? I'm not a bag of fun. But if people are dicking about, they're gonna know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And they need to know that in order to really go to that next position, you need to be doing the bodybuilding stuff. You need to be managing your meal timings. You need to be managing your water. You need to be managing your salt. You need
yeah,
to be managing your sleep wake timings. You need to be selfish with your training sessions and not having a gander to your bum chum. Like you
yeah.
are there to do a job. It's just how you then piece in the rest of the day amongst that. Because realistically, it's not hard. Like,
No,
go to bed at a normal time, wake up at a normal time, space your meals out in accordance. I know that not everyone can do that, and that's totally fine. Again, I will factor that in. But it's important that those standards are outlined and followed from day dot because, like I said, it's those percents, and they might not show, but there's going to be a massive difference in the outcome between those two people that are given the same plan, and one of them is dicking about, and one of them is doing exactly what they need to. I guarantee you that if you were to go over a 4 week, that individual that's been on it 80% of the time versus that individual that's on it 100% of the time, let's say 75 and 100, I reckon that person that's been on it 100% of the time would yield about a year's worth of progress on them over that
yeah,
time. And that is what people forget. Like I keep
yeah.
saying,
Compounds.
yeah,
Like,
always does, mate. And you need to just, like I said, cling to that vision, cling to those standards, and irrespective of what the little voice in your head is saying, override that. Look
yeah,
at the bigger picture, understand the what, the why, the when, the where, and just conduct yourself how you should. Particularly with the younger guys, though, like I really make a point to establish boundaries and what they need to do. But at the same time, I know that I have sacrificed times that I'm never going to get back, and it's quite frustrating to look back on. And if I've got someone in a diet, if I've got someone in an off season and they want to go and do this, and this with their missus, or this, and this, I'm like, look, you can do it, but you need to be on it 100% of the time out with that. I'm giving you a bit
yeah,
of slack here. Show me the respect and show yourself the respect to hold your end of the bargain out with that, because you can do the two. Like what really
yeah.
upsets me is the people that's like, oh, I'm all or nothing. I'm either going to be right on it or I'm right off it. And I'm like, fuck off. What does that attitude get you in life? It gets you nowhere. It gets you
Exactly.
if you do not have the control to dip in and out of that mode. What luck do
Yeah,
you have, or what hope do you have of progressing within anything in life?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, because there's going to be potholes in the road. Like you're going to get a flat tire. You don't. Things are going to happen that mean that it can't be perfect all the time, and you can't just hit the fucking button when that happens. And at the same time, no one wants to be sat with someone at Christmas with eating at a Tupperware either.
No,
Like understanding when you switch it on, when you switch it off is important. But as long as it's on more than it's off, you can do that.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
yeah. All right. Okay. I think an hour and a half is a pretty good time for this. So, is there anyone that you want to plug? You can drop your
I'd love
anything.
to plug my fantastic sponsors, Pit Stop, Taylor 10 at checkout will save you some dollar bills. Coach Unky Martin, man, you're the boy. I've got a host of other people, man, that take good care of me, man, and I'm in a really good spot just now, so I'm pretty blessed to do what I do. I love everything, mate. I love bodybuilding. I love my life. I'm incredibly. I'm proud but not satisfied. Shout out Christian Guzman for that one.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Poor guy's in the shitter, by the way, but out with that, I am really lucky, mate, and thank you again for the opportunity, mate. I hope you've got some good content out of this. I hope that a couple of people were able to take some wins from it, and yeah, hit me up if you guys
Yeah.
want me anything.
Yeah, no, I think this has been a really good chat. So thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure, mate. My
I'll
pleasure.
get you on at some point again.
Mate, let's do it. Let's do it. Even get like a host of people in, not just like
But it's in the pipeline.
yeah,
It's in the pipeline. I kind of just trialing who I think will work together, and
not
then
Sam because we will not get a word in
That's fine.
unless you can
Yeah,
like
yeah, no,
unless you can, like, mute him and then unmute him.
yeah, I have the power, so we're good. We're good.
No, I think that would be awesome, bro. We do a live podcast. Do a live one.
The live one's dangerous. Depends on who's on it, like. But yeah, we'll sort it out, man. Right. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, my guy. Lots of love, mate. You're the boy.